And good afternoon. Once again, it's me, Rachelle Wilson, for Make Some Intelligent Noise, the movement for justice. Thank you for joining me today as I have engaged in a conversation with a very esteemed guest, Newcastle County Executive Matthew Myers. And I thank you tremendously for doing this interview. I know you're busy and I know you have a lot going on, but I really wanted an opportunity to introduce you to your constituents. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Rachelle. It's really an honor to be here in your Newcastle County Government Center. If you're a resident of Newcastle County, this is your building too. If you pay your taxes, which you should do, This is your building too, and it's an honor to welcome you here today. Thanks for everything you do through your radio show to inform the public.
Thank you so much. So, in fairness of your time, let's get right to the crux of it. Let's tell the people what exactly are the duties and responsibilities of an executive, Newcastle County executive. What do you do?
So Newcastle County Executive, it's a little like the mayor of Newcastle County. There are about 1 million residents of the state of Delaware. 570,000, almost more than half, live in Newcastle County. And our job is to provide police, the Newcastle County Police, outside of the city of Wilmington, outside the city of Newark, outside of Middletown and other towns. It's to provide paramedic service, 911 service. If you're calling 911, you're probably calling a county government facility. It's to provide land use. When people want to build shopping centers, malls, housing developments, they have to go through a county process. We also operate 249 county parks: Banning Park, Glasgow Park, Carousel Park, and a whole bunch of other parklets, we call them, small neighborhood parks, Bonsall Park in North Wilmington. We also have libraries, 15 libraries, including we help fund the beautiful downtown Wilmington Library and the little library lit up on 40th and North Market Street there, as well as the Woodlawn Library in the city of Wilmington. Yeah, so 15 libraries. As well, we do a host of other stuff. Some of you may have played in our sports league. I hurt my foot the other night playing soccer. We run a gamut of programs for old and young people of all ages, art programs and things and the like. Maybe most importantly, Rachelle, you don't hear much about this. It's been in the news a little bit the past few days. Maybe most importantly, what's the most important public health innovation of the last 500 years? Public health innovation.
Okay.
Why do 500 years ago people would lose their life at 35, 40 in the Middle Ages? They die very young. Sanitary sewers. When there's bad stuff going down the drain, we take it away. You don't have to worry about it. Some places in the world have open sewers now, right? Where the sewage is literally in the street. We take it away. You don't have to worry about it. So we run the largest sewer system in the state.
Wow. Well, we do. I certainly personally appreciate you for that. But I want to say, you and I we've been in some of the same places at the same time, but we never had a chance to talk until the day we were out at the park and we were dancing to the drums. I will always remember that. And I think that's why I was so excited to do this interview. You're like one of the coolest dudes, right? To have such a high position in politics and in government. You're really a cool dude.
Well, I should tell you, I wasn't cool in high school, so it's taken me a while to achieve Rachelle cool status. But I'm working on the dance moves.
And you've been to Africa. You have friends there. You have partnerships there. You are associated very much with brown people all across the world, and I think that is a bravo for you.
Thank you. I grew up. I see myself as sort of a regular Wilmington kid. I grew up in Wilmington, and I ended up having an opportunity in college to go and live in Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. And I lived in a place where for months I wouldn't see anybody else whose skin color was like mine.
Yeah.
And I lived in a place that was very divided ethnically. In Kenya, there's something called the Kikuyu people and the Luo people and the Luya people. And most people that look at them can't tell the difference. They all kind of look the same, but a lot of them didn't like each other. And so I came home, and it really gave me a lot of perspective on who we are here. We're all human beings. I was there relating with people and friends with people who sometimes weren't making more than $10, $20, $30 a month. And these people were my friends, and I was their friends. And you learn that you can cross boundaries that sometimes growing up in Delaware, we don't realize we can cross. To be friends, to have fellowship, understanding and respecting our differences, understanding and respecting your heritage. Maybe even the God you pray to is so different than the God I think I pray to. But we join together and we move our community together. And every now and then we have a good time together and dance too.
Yeah, to the sound of the
That's
drums.
right.
So let's piggyback off of that. Let's dovetail. So Newcastle County is established in the late 1600s. Really severely harsh time for
I don't
brown
remember
people.
it, but yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't here either. But let's fast forward.
Yeah.
Now we're at 2021. What is your office, or what, if anything, is your office doing about bridging that divide and between the nationalities of people?
So we have a legacy of cruelty and inequality in this country and in our community that I think has largely been unaddressed. I think in some ways it's been addressed. I'm not saying nothing has changed. Heroes through history, people like Booker T. Washington, W.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King, of course, Malcolm X, they helped move things in the right direction, in my opinion, but there's still a lot of work to be done. It's not hard to look in communities where I grew up in Wilmington to see the racial segregation, the class segregation. Go to schools. Let's be honest about the schooling that people of different races, to some extent people of different genders, are receiving right here in Newcastle County. There's a lot of work we have to do. Look at the levels of incarceration. Look at the arrest rates. Right? Look at the race, nationality, gender of police officers who are police paramedics. We have not yet reached that level of equality that I think America aspires to, that I think Newcastle County and Delawareans aspire to. So we have a lot of work to do.
I love that. And it takes a really, a very confident person to be able to say what you just said, to really just kind of admit to that. So I appreciate that. And what specific initiatives, if any, are being done or can be done while you're in this position?
There's sort of the specific stuff, the policy stuff that we're doing, and then there's specific stuff that I personally do, in part to change lives and in part to keep me grounded. I have, throughout my time as county executive, as the chief executive of a county of 570,000 people, gone to Gander Hill, and I teach in Gander Hill. Teach a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People with Jack Sanders. We go in and we talk to inmates there. Because I've been doing it long enough, a number of them now are getting out, and I work with them in some cases to make sure they're finding jobs, making sure things are taken care of. One thing I realized pretty quickly in this job is that often people who are incarcerated and returning citizens don't have access to people like me. And let's be honest, in the American system, too often people who write the big checks to elect people like me, they have myself, right? They have the direct access to the elected official. So I like to let people like that know, hey, if you vote, right? Or even if you don't vote, if you're a resident here, you're my boss too, right? You're my boss too. And my job is to serve you every much as it's my job to serve someone who's making $10, $20 million, big business owner. And so I also in this job have access, right? So there's the formal things I can do. We're working with a man named John Blyden, Rashima Dixon on Pathways to Apprenticeship, which we have funded since day one of that program, along with current state budget director Saran Cade when he was at the Department of Labor. We've been funding that program to give career, it's people say job opportunities, but really it's more than that. It's career opportunities, long-term training opportunities to people emerging from incarceration or people who just are down on their luck and looking for opportunity.
Because we don't always need a handout, just a kind of a hand up sometimes.
Right. That's right.
And so...
and let me say this too. Everyone I know, except for my mom, everyone I know has made a mistake in life. As Brian Stevenson says, we should not be judging people based on the worst thing they ever did in their life. Everybody deserves a second chance. And so it's really important that we let people know, and there may even be people listening or watching today, to let you know that this needs to be a place for second chances. If you are down on your luck today, sorry, I went to church on Sunday, so I
Yes.
get a little bit into it. If you're down and out, right, there are opportunities here. And especially now, we're living in a beautiful time where jobs, in some respect, are plentiful like never before. Training opportunities are plentiful, more plentiful. You can't let the worst of your history define you. And a lot of times, that in the past, historically, that's been up to government, but more and more we're putting it in your hands. That as long as you can, get your life headed in the right direction, my job is to make sure we're there to support you and hold your hand and push you along the way.
You're amazing. You're absolutely amazing. And you did an initiative where you took a hotel, a 192 room hotel, and converted it into a shelter for the people who need a hand up. How is that working? And did you have a lot of opposition with that?
So we, a little over a year ago, like September of 2020, we're 6 months at that point into the global pandemic of the century. It's still nice, September, it's the end of summer, but we're looking at a winter where people who don't have a home or a house go at night. The shelters, they're by and large closed because it's not safe for a bunch of people to sleep next to each other. And libraries and community centers where people go during the day, they're closed as well. So when it's so cold out, where are people going to go? There was a hotel voucher system, but the problem with the hotel voucher system, people are going to stay in a hotel, and there were all these other services. A lot of the people are having health problems, and we weren't taking care of them. Kids not able to go to school, internet wasn't working. So we decided to purchase a hotel for $19.5 million. We took quite a bit of heat. When you invest money like that in the rich and powerful, you don't hear much complaints. But when you do it for the least among us, we certainly heard from people, including leading government officials, who behind closed doors kind of gave us some blowback on it. We've pushed hard. Last night, over 400 people who otherwise would have no place to sleep in this cold. And actually last night, hard rain. They slept safely and with dignity with their families, and in some cases with their pets in the Sheraton, one of the 192 rooms, over 150 children. And really what I'm proudest of with that facility, it hasn't even been a year. It opened December 15th of last year. 73 families so far have come into the facility. They've gotten the temporary housing. They've received some of the supports, mental health, substance use, job placement. Christiana Care has a clinic, so physical health as well. A host of other supports, and 73 families have now moved out into permanent supportive housing. So that's where we're hoping it'll be for the long term, a place people can come temporarily. I should add, it has not just been for the chronically homeless. What we say, people whose houses have caught on fire and suddenly have nowhere to go, now have a place to sleep. An Afghan refugee family that fled the war just a couple months ago when the Americans withdrew, they stayed there for a short time. And families that lost their homes or temporarily lost their homes in the flooding of Hurricane Ida a few months ago stayed there as well.
Awesome. I do remember, as I may have mentioned to you before, I am the mother of an incarcerated son, which is why I started my whole movement. You are my 101 interview.
Oh.
So thank you very much.
Wow, we got you into triple digits.
Yes, you got me into the triple digits. I just did an interview, a great conversation with Lieutenant Governor Dr. Bethany Hall Long. That was a fabulous interview. She was 100. So you're my 101. Great. I'm on the other side of the fence now, and I'm still going.
Fantastic.
But yeah, massive incarceration, prison, returning citizens, all of those things are very passionate for me. And I remember getting some of our returning citizens into that hotel to help them to get a shelter hotel into that place so that they could do better. And some of them are really doing much better now as a result of having that. We need another one, though. We could use another hotel with 192 rooms.
Agreed.
So I want to also just talk a little bit with you about the CARES funding. You spearheaded the job initiative, and what happens when the CARES funding runs out? What happens then? First, tell us what is CARES, and then what happens when.
So CARES funding was a federal act enacted in 2020, a little over a year ago, to make sure local governments like ours had the resources we need to fight COVID-19. You could imagine that when the economy is grounded to a halt, people weren't going to restaurants, a lot of people were not going to work or working virtually, that there was fear that we in local governments across the country would not have the resources to perform our basic functions. So the idea was to give us resources to perform our basic functions and to fight COVID. We use these resources to provide nearly 500,000 tests. I don't know if you remember all the test sites. We set up 3-4 test sites a day in some instances. You could go to almost 500 test sites around the county that we did, free test sites, so that people could know whether they had COVID or not and get their results quickly on their phone. Yeah. We also so I mentioned 500,000 tests. Each of those tests, it was early in COVID, it was really expensive. Each of those tests cost $150. So you're like, whoa, do that math, 150, that's like almost $75 million. But what we did a few months in is I said, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. We're buying these tests from labs in Texas and California and DC. And so we partnered with Delaware State University, and we gave them a $5 million grant, and they've built a brand new lab, Kirkwood Highway. It's working. It's not only a COVID lab, but it's actually an advanced genomics lab. It really puts Delaware State on the forefront, not just of universities in the state of Delaware in terms of advanced science, but really among HBCUs in the country. Top-notch facility. They're now building it out, I think, or they have plans to build it out into a science center. So we did a number of things like that in terms of workforce. We invested heavily in a few things. One was the Pathways to Apprenticeship program that I mentioned with John Blyden. Yeah. I encourage you to reach out to Rashima Dixon, councilwoman from the city of Wilmington, who's the executive director of that program. She's fantastic. Beautiful woman. She's fantastic. And they're really on the front lines and making sure that people have productive things to do, careers to build their families off of.
Because a job is different than a career. A career really can set you moving forward. A job is just something you do every day from 9 to 5. That's or right. Whatever, just to put a little bread on the table.
One other thing we did is we worked with a group called Code Differently. Stephanie Eldridge, Tariq. Do you remember Tariq's last name? Tariq and Stephanie at Code Differently, and Tariq Hook. And what they do is two things. Number one, they said, wait a second, there are all these people who are working at restaurants who aren't going to be working at restaurants anytime soon because they're closed. And all these performers, people that worked in theaters, all these industries, people that worked in baseball, had nowhere, it was all closed. And other industries as well. And so what they did is they said, let's teach them from their home how to code. And we funded Code Differently. And now that the pandemic is coming to an end, now that a lot of these industries are opening up again, it's extraordinary the number of people that have permanently changed their career. They're making a lot more money coding. So COVID and the horrific pandemic became an opportunity for them to upgrade their skills. So we funded that. And similarly, we have a program called 1,000 Kids Coding, where we're going into schools, partnering with our library system, trying to find 1,000 children of color, black and brown children, starting in middle school through high school, teaching them advanced computer coding. So that by the time they finish high school, 1,000 kids in Newcastle County will be prepared to enter the workforce and make money.
Oh, bravo. Anything that helps our young people of all nationalities is very important. And I applaud you for that. If your common constituent wanted to be a part of, getting a hand up, who in your office should they contact, or should they contact each organization individually?
Call my office, 395-5118. Call me.
Really?
302-395-5118.
He put his phone number out there. That's big. That's really, you're going to be inundated with
phone calls. Our job is to help people. Our job is to help people. And I'm not saying personally I'm going to go out and do every single thing, but we do what we can. We have a team who's here to serve you.
Yes. Speaking of service, I would be remiss if I ended this interview without talking about your service. I believe it's to the Army. You served in the Army, is that correct?
I wasn't in the Army. I was a United States diplomat. I was in diplomatic corps. I spent a year in Iraq, embedded with the U.S. Army on a base with 10,000 soldiers in Mosul, Iraq in 2010.
Yeah. Thank you for your service and your sacrifice there. We appreciate that to all of our vets who protect these lands. And so tell me, from your own perspective, moving forward, what do you see your career goals as being for 2024?
So, I was a public school teacher who at Prestige Academy in Wilmington, grade school, Dr. Jack Perry, 6th and 7th grade math.
That's impossible. I was there.
Oh, really?
I worked for Dr. Jack Perry.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was there. I was one of the teachers.
No kidding. What grade?
Oh my God. They were 8th graders.
You were upstairs. I was downstairs.
Yeah. Oh my God. We missed each other.
We missed each other. I was there. I don't know if I even remember the year, but that's one thing that inspired me to run for office in the first place, was really believing that the families that I was working with and teaching every day were not getting a fair shot. And I had to do something more to get them a fair shot. We've been working hard here in Newcastle County government to give people a fair shot, thinking in innovative ways. It's no secret that we're looking at trying to do that on the state level. It's still very early. 2024 is a long way away, and we're going to keep plugging away here in Newcastle County until the time comes.
Any possibility you might be interested in running for a different office?
Well, I actually cannot run for this office again. I'm term limited. So I won't be county executive after 2024 unless we change the law, and I'm not saying we do that.
Right.
But so I won't run for a county executive again. I'm likely to run at the state level. We're looking at what we're doing, making sure we continue doing great things to the people of this county.
Maybe perhaps I could visit you sometimes in the governor's office.
if we do happen to get there. If chips fall our way, I will make sure, Rachelle, you have an opportunity.
Yes, I will come and visit you and bring some music and some good food.
Sounds good. Music and good food, I'm always up for. We can have a little dance party.
Oh my God. I can't thank you enough for doing this interview. I appreciate you as a human being. I appreciate you as our Newcastle County executive. I appreciate you, Matt Myers. I really do. And if you could end the interview with saying whatever it is that's on your heart, that you want the listeners, your constituents, to know, please close us out.
Thank you so much, Rachelle. Listen, we live in an incredible time. When you look at the stock market, when you look at cranes in the city of Wilmington, when you look at a lot of the business activity, it looks like things are going better than ever. But I know there are listeners today, there are people watching this for whom life has turned out more lemons than lemonade. Things are not working well, and they may have woken up this morning, a rainy morning here, thinking that there's not much hope. And I just want them to know that they have partners and collaborators here in my office and in county government. We are here to serve you. There are opportunities out there for you, and we're eager to work with you to make sure everyone in every distant corner of this county has an equal shot. So thank you. And thank you so much, Rachelle, for spreading this important message, for giving elected officials like myself a platform to speak directly to people and informing people of the good works out there across our community.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.